Interested in this, nearly 1.8 million Britons have become online share traders during the pandemic as social media influencers fuel a rise in investing, particularly among the young. More than a fifth of UK adults now traded shares during the pandemic, nearly half of them doing more trading or starting trading during COVID. Gary Stevenson is an economist who focuses on inequality. He was a trader who retired from the city as a multi-millionaire aged 27 following the financial crash of 2008. Very good evening to you, Gary.
Good evening, Tom.
Do you know if this, to me, Gary, this seems like it is happening, just speaking to friends and friends of friends. Do you know that this is happening, that more and more people are now playing on stocks and shares?
Yes, I've seen that. Just like yourself, Tom, I've seen that happening to my friends. I came out and put an article out at the beginning of COVID, making some predictions about what was going to happen, big increases in share prices, big increases in gold prices. And I got contacted by loads of my friends who wanted to get involved. And, you know, I told them what I thought was going to happen. You know, gold would go up, stocks would go up. And then suddenly, like August last year, loads of them were getting in touch with me when gold price collapsed, saying, oh, I've lost loads of money. And loads of these guys had run into these online trading platforms. So I went and looked at the numbers, and there's been a massive increase. So IG Index, which is the biggest spread betting platform, has had a 60% increase in users. There's been 5 million new users of eToro, 360% increase in free trade, 2 million Britons investing in cryptocurrency. There's been an explosion in the use.
Yeah. Gary, I'll be honest, I've looked at this too. I've downloaded the apps. I've had a play around with sort of pretend money to start with because I'm nervous about it. I don't know what I'm doing. But you look at how the real economy is when things are falling apart and wages are stagnant and asset prices are exploding, and you think, well, that's where the action is. That's, for a lot of people, that's the only way they're going to make lots of money if they can't buy a house.
Yeah, I totally understand it. I mean, that's why my friends were contacting me. They're saying, look, we saw what happened in 2008. People's wages stayed flat for 10 years and London house prices doubled. And they increased in the rest of the country as well, right? And so we're living in a country, it seems, the stock markets double every years, and yet wages don't double in 30 years. So I totally understand why people want to get involved. And, you know, I'm from London. You know, people in London, they might have friends who work in the city, seeing them taking home 7-figure bonuses, while here in COVID, a lot of people are struggling just to work.
Absolutely.
So I totally understand why people are doing it, but it's dangerous.
But it's dangerous in the way that having a betting app on your phone or going to a bookies is dangerous. You know, if you're going to bet money, you've got to run the risk that you're going to lose money as well.
It is, but that's a really good comparison you've made it, Tom, because you said it's like having a betting app, and that is basically exactly what it is. The way that most ordinary people use these apps, like IG Index or like World Trade, they use it like a gambling app, basically. And that's why, if you look at the statistics, 70% of users of IG Index lose money, 80% of users of World Trade. But the problem is, often these apps, these trading apps, are marketed as if they're valuable investment tools, rather. We've seen today, this morning, Max Whitlock has come out in support of World Trade, which and I think it's Trade Nation, which is a spread betting contract for difference app, which is basically a gambling app, though most people use it. And, you know, he's pitching it, if you work hard and try your best, we can all make money. Look at the statistics, most people lose money. Now, you know, I'm sure he's a gentleman, he's much better on a pommel horse than me. If it was clearly a gambling app, he probably wouldn't be supporting it. But because it's a trading app, it's got legitimacy. And you know, I've been talking to some gambling organisations, Gamban and Get, and what they've been seeing is people who've worked hard to beat really serious gambling addictions have often been dragged back into these trading apps because they don't see it as gambling, they're not marketed as gambling, but the way they affect most people is very similar to gambling.
I don't know, Gary. I think you're pretty good on a pommel horse, mate. I've seen you. I think you could make it. Listen, the other allure of the trading stuff is, I think, the online, whether it's Reddit or some influencers on Twitter, there's a move that seems like it's going to break the system, whether it was the Robin Hood stuff or GameStop, all that kind of, you know, there's an ability that it's not quite the same as betting on the football or the horses. That's up to fate. Yeah. You're not really sure who's going to win, but you give it a good go. This is more like the system can be bent, can be crashed, can be hacked in order that you win.
Yeah. You know, we came on before, we spoke about GameStop before.
So
right? People love this idea that we can fight back against the system. And, you know, I'm always talking about my YouTube. You know, we've got a system that is set up where a crisis like 2008, a crisis like COVID, whatever happens, it seems the rich get richer. You know, we saw like 250 billionaires make 106 billion extra profits in COVID.
Yeah.
And yet ordinary people seem to always lose out, right? So obviously people want to fight back against the system. I totally understand that. But I think often that desire people have to push for something fairer is being somewhat taken advantage of, because the numbers speak for themselves, right? 70% of IG Index users lose money. 80% of Trade Nation users lose money. So people are being dragged into some idea that they're fighting the power, fighting the system, and the end result is just a load of ordinary guys losing their savings.
Do you know of people, Gary, that have been able to come, you know, like trading bros, you know, guys on their laptops at home during a pandemic who are able to sort of train themselves to get better at this, follow advice from people on Reddit or Twitter or wherever they're getting the advice from, YouTube videos, and end up making money, you know, getting good at it?
Yeah, look, this is a great point. You know, as you know, my background is I was a professional trader. You know, I was one of the world's top traders, one of the world's biggest banks. I was a very successful
You're a
trader.
trading bro.
Yeah, well, I'm retired now, and I do some stay-at-home trading, right? But the fact is, you know, I've studied for 5 years economics. I've worked for 5 years in a city. I'm a professional at this, right? You know, Max Whitlock, I read what he said about Trade Nation right now. I don't want to single him out because I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he came out and said, look, hard work and perseverance will lead you to success, right? And that's true, right? You know, but I've worked as a trader. You know, I've been doing it for 10 years, and I'm good at it. But I wouldn't sit down, do a bit of Googling, and decide I could take on Max Whitlock at gymnastics, right? But if you're going out there, you're competing with traders who do this 100 hours a week, maybe for 10, 20 years, you know. And people have been sold a dream, like a Wolf of Wall Street style dream, where they get rolling news tickers and they get these red and green graphs going up and down. And they're kind of being sold the dream you could be a top trader. But the fact is, you know, if you haven't got years and years of experience, you're not a top trader. So, you know, obviously, look, it's like gambling, and you will find people that have made money because they've just made the right bets. You know, there's a big element of random chance there. But the numbers don't lie, Tom. The majority of people are losing money.
All right. I'll tell you what, for Gary, I appreciate it. Thank you. Gary Stevenson, economist focusing on inequality, trader, retired, multimillionaire, age 27. Knows his stacks and shares.
Housing could be so much more affordable, wages could be so much higher, and we could have so many more options in how we live our lives. There is one other thing they can do with that massive amount of income. They can buy your mum's house.